Okay, let's start. Being grateful to our Father for having the opportunity to be gathered today in order to investigate, to study a little bit better, to understand better these laws of nature, in particular the one governing mediumship activity, interrelations between the incarnated world and the spiritual world. May we be attentive, open to this teaching, understand them, put them in practice, and may this study also be useful for the spirits which are with us today, this morning. So be it.
Okay. Amen.
So, we are in the section 25, evocations, and 279 is in the first subtitle, general spirits. What are the spirits that we can evoke or call? And this point 279 was following the one where we have seen if the question if there are some inconvenience in evoke or call bad intentioned spirits, and talking about the moral superiority, ascendant moral in French, that is governing basically the relations in the spiritual world. The spirits who have authority are the spirits which are more evolved. They have a kind of an automatic authority of the spirits which are less evolved. And in the mediumship, in the dialogue between in the mediumistic meeting, for instance, the same is applying. Okay. So these perverse spirits are sometimes tough, and they know perfectly us. They know exactly what we have done, good and bad, the hours or the days before the mediumistic meeting, and they can simply throw this into our face like this in the middle of the mediumistic meeting. So it needs care. It needs also on our part to do the humility and also to do the efforts in order to stop doing wrong things and to concentrate on doing good things. And this is what will give us authority. So, two last paragraph, it may seem very surprising that when the name of God is invoked against such spirits, it hardly ever has any effect. St. Louis explains the reason for this in the following response. The name of God only has influence over imperfect spirits when the one who invokes it can do so with the authority of his or her own virtues. Coming from the mouth of someone who is morally no better than the spirit, it is just an ordinary word like any other. The same applies to sacred objects used to oppose them. The most terrible weapon is inoffensive in hands that are unable or incapable of using it. So I think it's very clear, self-understanding, very clear. It's again the moral authority. In the name of God, we ask the spirits to come or to not come or to be quiet or whatever. Okay, it's not just to say in the name of God. It's just it's again to have authority, and authority comes of our own virtues, as it is said here by Saint Louis. This, of course, who is perfect is only God. We are not perfect. We all have imperfections. So in the case it happens, a spirit which is a little bit malicious throws something into our face. Yeah, yesterday you have done this or that or whatever, or you have failed here or there. What is the best reaction to have? is to stay humble and to recognize, yes, I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my efforts to improve every day. You know, it's a response that we can answer, because if we would impose as a criteria of being perfect to be, for instance, orienter or to make the dialogue in the mediumistic meeting, we would have no orienter or no one to dialogue, because nobody here is perfect. But only this attitude, humility, is already giving an example, and is already, it looks, how to say, like a paradox, to stay humble gives us authority. Voilà. So next subtitle, what is the proper manner to speak to spirits? What language do we have to use by talking with them? Okay. So the degree to which spirits have evolved naturally indicates the tone in which we should speak to them. It is obvious that the more elevated they are, the more they deserve our respect, consideration, and submission. We should treat them with no less deference than if they were still incarnate, but for other reasons. During terrestrial life, we would consider their job and their social position, whereas in the spiritual world, we only respect them for their moral superiority. Okay, so again, moral superiority, level of evolution, is giving the authority of the spirits one over the other, whether discarnated or incarnated. So if we have a very high evolved spirit here, we know that he is superior. So of course, Kardec is talking here about respect, consideration, and even submission. Okay, because the good spirit, when he gives us an advice, rarely we discuss the advice he gives us, because the advice he will give us, coming from a good spirit, is always exactly what we need in a given circumstance. So this is the kind of submission, which could, the opposite could be, when we are not submission, we are contesting, or answering or challenging or whatever. But who are we to challenge a good spirit? This is what we have to have in mind. Okay. But during terrestrial life, of course, if you are in front of the president or prime minister or whoever, it's to respect them. But in the spiritual world, this position or the job does not have importance anymore, but it is the moral superiority. Okay. This elevation in itself places them above the puerilities of our formal flatterings. Because, well, today it's gonna last a little bit, these flatteries, but at that time, there were a lot of formulas to be used, and it still exists a little bit today. For instance, in some circles, like in France, when you write to what's the name of this in English? Écrivain, notaire in French. We use a formula which is master,
I think you said notary.
Notary, ouais. So we use master to, but it's even this is getting lost, because if you just say sir or dear sir, it's enough. They will not be shocked for that, because this type of things are also, these formal flatterings are also less and less used in the incarnated world. Alors, continuing, we will not win their benevolence with mere words, but with sincere sentiments, knowing again that they can read in our minds, they can read our thoughts, they can read our sentiments. We are completely transparent in front of them. So mask does not work with this type of spirits. Therefore, it would be ridiculous to give them the titles we use to distinguish positions, and which in life would please their vanity. You see, please their vanity in life, because of our pride, but for good spirits, pride does not exist anymore. If they are truly superior, they not only assign little importance to these titles, but they also find them disagreeable even, because it reminds always the flattering reminds always pride, okay? So they don't care so much about flattering, they care about, again, sincere sentiments and thoughts, okay? A moral thought pleases them more than flattering epithets. Otherwise, they would not be above ordinary humanity. The spirit of a venerable priest, who was a prince of the church while on earth, and who practiced the teaching of Jesus, responded to someone who evoked him by the title of my Lord. You should at least say my my Lord, for there is only one Lord, who is God. You should know very well that these are those here who kneeled before me while on earth, but whom I kneel before now. Okay, so showing that all these earthly things are useless for the spirits. What is valid in the spiritual world and in the exchanges with them is the sincerity of the purpose, to be serious, good intentions and good sentiments. Okay. I remember when I was in Brazil. In Brazil, we use also o senhor to talk to someone. And the person who received me the first time I went to a Spiritist center, I was using, by respect for him, always o senhor. And he was always answering to me, como vai o senhor? How are you, my Lord? He said, oh, the Lord, he's very well, no worry. Like responding like if he not willing, a little bit the same as here. Okay. When addressing low order spirits, so that's the first part was for good spirits or elevated spirits. Now on the second part, when we are addressing to lower above spirits. Their particular character determines the language we should employ. Among them, there are those who may be inoffensive and even benevolent, but who are nevertheless frivolous, ignorant, or foolish. To address them like serious spirits, as some people do, would be the same as if we were to bow before a grade school student or a donkey wearing a doctoral hood. A casual tone is certainly not strange to them, nor does it offend them. On the contrary, that is what they prefer. Okay, so the same here on earth. We do not address to a student or a child the same to the prime minister or whoever. And it is a little bit the same for the spirits. But we should always make difference, because when they start, for instance, with frivolities or making us lose time in the mediumistic meeting, we should raise a little bit the tone and saying, okay, good, we are not here for that. We are here for more serious things. So we should not hesitate to correct, to revert to them if they are pushing the dialogue to something which goes out of the seriousness and the discipline. Okay. Among the less evolved spirits are those who are unhappy. Whatever the wrongs they are expiating, their sufferings deserve our pity, and the more, for no one escapes these walls of Christ. Let the one who is without sin cast the first stone. Treating them with benevolence is consoling to them. In their need of sympathy, they ought to find in us the same tolerance as we would want for ourselves. Okay, so a spirit who is coming, it's okay, I'm not well, I committed suicide, whatever. You committed suicide, that is not good. We are judging, should not do that. We shoot at the opposite, huh? Because how many times did we suicide in the past? Huh? Probably more than once. Huh? So let the one who is without sin cast the first stone. And if we are benevolent to them without judging, that is the best way to help them. Okay. Yes. Spirits who show little evolved, they are through their cynical, I did not understand the sentence. Spirits who show how little evolved they are through their cynical language, lies, base sentiments, and perfidious advice are certainly less worthy of our interest than those whose words display their repentance. But we should nonetheless treat them with at least as much pity as the great criminals inspire in us. The way to reduce them to silence is by showing that we are of a higher order than they, because they only establish relationships with persons of whom they have nothing to fear. Perverse spirits recognize the superiority of moral individuals, just as they recognize the superiority of high order spirits. Okay. So now we are in, so we have seen the good spirits and the suffering spirits. Now the one which are perfidious, or the one which are less well-intentioned. Okay, this happens also when we are facing, I don't know, a criminal or some person who made wrong things in the earth or whatever. What shall be the best manner to behave in front of them? Okay, is to show them that we are of a higher order. This means not just to tell it. I am of a higher order than you. No, this is just words. You need to show them. So to say, to treat them with respect, my brother, I understand you, and even try maybe to call their attention of maybe changing their behavior or whatever. But again, with a maximum respect. Or sometimes they come and do, we will kill you, we will destroy the group. So what do you answer in this type of situation? To show your superiority, you need to be benevolent towards them. To tell them, okay, you come to destroy us, but we are here to help you. You see, you are doing evil to us, but we, at the opposite, are giving you back good. And that shows that we are more evolved than them. Okay, so this should be the rule also to behave with such type of spirits. Never get impressed by them. They will threaten and so on. You can sometimes even say, yes, okay, but the power of God is above all, or is infinite, or to bring them, try to find the ways to calm them during the dialogue. Because if we go enter in the fight, we enter in the clash. I don't know if you have seen a little bit of transactional analysis, but it's very interesting when you have two people, two persons, one in front of the other, and the one which is in front of you, for instance, take you aggressively. He puts him in a situation to be superior or dominating you. The best answer is not you trying to be superior to him. The best answer is to talk to him to equal. And this is what is generally helping to cool down the dialogue and to find ways to communicate efficiently. Okay? Everything okay? I always look from time to time. There is no question, no hand raised. So let's go to the conclusion paragraph of this sub-chapter. To summarize, it would be irreverent to treat higher order spirits as our equals, just as it would be ridiculous to show the same deference to all spirits without exception. We should venerate those who deserve it, recognize those who protect and assist us, and show the others the same benevolence that we ourselves might need someday. Do unto the other what you would like the other to do unto you. Okay, that's the rule. By unveiling the incorporeal world, we learn to understand it, and this understanding should guide our relationship with its inhabitants. In their ignorance, the ancients raised altars to them. For us, they are creators who we may be more purified or less so than we ourselves are. And it is God alone that it is to God alone that we raise altars. Okay, so no superstition. Just behave with the spirits as you would behave amongst incarnated people, knowing that those superior spirits are seldomly incarnated, but okay, that's it. Okay, clear? Good. So let's go to the next subtitle. The usefulness of private evocation. Let me see the French one. Utilité des évocations particulières. Yes. So for what are we doing private evocation? What is the utility of them? Communications with highly evolved spirits or those who animated great personages in antiquity are valuable for their elevated teachings. These spirits have reached a degree of purification that enables them to embrace a wider circle of ideas, to unveil mysteries that surpass human possibilities, and to thereby initiate us better than other spirits could in certain matters. Okay? So most of the utility of private evocation, calling this high evolved spirit is to get teachings, to learn with them. Okay, that's the first utility. Okay, and of course they have a vision which is well above the human vision. So this is basically what the spirits of the codification have done when Kardec was preparing the spirits book. They brought a lot of teachings. There was nothing radically new because reincarnation was already, mediumship as well, that we have a soul, that the soul survives after death, spirituality. All these ideas were existing since a long time, a little bit everywhere, even by the ancients. Socrates and Plato, for instance, were already teaching soul, survival of the soul, communicability, evolution, reincarnation, and so on. But what the spirits did, they really helped to make a kind of a synthesis of all this knowledge which were received along all these long periods at any part of the world. But they made a paradigm, a corpus, a philosophical body of knowledge, if you can say so, which is a spiritist body of knowledge, which is extremely consistent internally. Okay. Again, I remember when I started, when I read the first time the Spirits book, it made me a kind of, I was in doubt because I was, in my head, I was thinking like, this seems so logical, so this déjà vu impression, and it looks so consistent that there must be a trick behind. You may be cheated here or seduced or whatever. So then, okay, good. Well, let's read it again now that I have a global vision of it and try to find some inconsistencies. And this was, let me think now, something like 40 years ago, and I'm still looking for inconsistencies. So far, I was not able to find any. So clearly, this thing came with a, here is where we recognize, because to codify such a body of knowledge covering so many aspects and staying consistent then after more than 1.5 century later, nobody could find and demonstrate something is wrong in it, shows that it comes really from spirits which are well above the humanity, even in advance over time. The difficulty is not to find inconsistencies. The difficulty is for the people to understand and to adhere to the spiritist body of knowledge. Okay, voilà. So, and that's basically Kardec saying, yes, okay, I called Saint Louis, I called Erasto, I called a lot of spirits which were evoked. Why? Because they have this elevation. First, to coordinate between themselves in the spiritual world, they speak with one voice. And second, to bring us the teachings. Okay. However, this does not mean that communications with lower order spirits are worthless, because the observer can definitely learn from them. To understand the customs of a nation, one must study it on every level. Whoever observes it only in only one of its aspects does not understand it well at all. The history of a nation is not the history of its monarch and its authorities. Rather, to form an opinion about it, we must research the life of its people and their particular customs. So Kardec did that very much, not only by evocation, also by spontaneous communication and so on. The second part of the Heaven and Hell, for instance, is showing how interesting it is to listen a little bit to all these different types of spirits, the one which were good, the one which were less good, the one which were criminals, the one which were king or queens, the one which were committed suicide or whatever, because that is then when reading the second part of the book, The Heaven and Hell, we can have an idea of what the spiritual world looks like. It's exactly what Kardec is describing them. And if he, for instance, would not have allowed those spirits to communicate, we would have missed a lot of information, a lot of lessons, a lot of examples that sometimes, by example, the examples, they speak much more to us than a long theory. Okay. Thus, high order spirits are the authorities of the spirit world, and their very elevation places them above us in such a way that we are amazed at the distance that separates them from us. Yeah, really. And sometimes you have even people saying, oh, this is only an angel. That one is an archangel, Start ranking spirits which are way more elevated to us. So this type of attitude, I find it a little bit childish, because who are we to say that Jesus is more elevated than Krishna or than Buddha or whoever? The only we can see is they are elevated spirit, and they are part of the same team, much more united than we are here. So try to ranking such elevated spirits, once they are pure spirits or good spirits, as per the classification of the spirits, is childish. We just, if they are good, they are good. Because, and that this is even the reason why Jesus has been assimilated for God with the Trinity in the Catholic religion. You have the Father, the Son, and the Spiritus Sancto, Sanctus Spirits, which are 3 times one, and so Jesus is God. And for us, no, Jesus is an elevated spirit, but he's not God. God is the infinite, and Jesus is very high. So, but from where we are, we cannot make a difference between the very high and the infinite, When you are in mathematics, you draw the curve of a function which goes to the asymptote. At a given point in time, the line is too thick. You cannot differentiate the asymptote from the line anymore. And this is showing us, no, infinite is infinite, and very elevated is very elevated. It's not identical. But for us, which are much, much lower, we are very far from the asymptote in our current evolution state. Listening to such elevated spirits will only help us to grow. Okay. The more bourgeois spirit, let me see, bourgeois. It's a French name, but does it mean the same in English as in French? 281.
I think in English is related to middle class.
Ah oui, des esprits plus bourgeois. Okay. May they forgive us this expression. Yeah, may you, okay. The translation is maybe not 100%, but we can understand, of course, the spirits in the middle class. Make the conditions of their new existence more palpable to us, because they are closer to us, so we can understand better. Their connection between the corporeal and spirit life is narrower, and we can comprehend it better because it touches us more closely. By learning directly from them about what they have become and what they think about what individuals of all conditions and character experience, moral and cruel, great and small, happy and unhappy individuals of our own times. In a word, those who have lived amongst us, whom we have seen and known, whose real lives we have witnesses, with its virtues and errors, we better understand their joys and suffering. We share in both and receive a moral lesson from both. Okay, so when you see again the best example, best illustration, application, because here Kardec is talking about a principle in the Mediums book, which was published 1861. Heaven and Hell was only published 4 years later, 1865. Heaven and Hell second part is really the application of this. Why? Because among the spirits who communicated, you had Samson, you had Jobard, you had several persons who were members of who Kardec knew personally. And so it's very close. He was here. I know him very well as incarnated. And now I learn what he became after passing away. So this is something which, as it says, touches us very closely. We see an example of what he became. He even can give us, look, you remember I have done this and that, maybe it would have been better not to do it. Or you see, if I'm in such a situation, is because you know this and that I did helped me a lot now. It's something which is very, very useful for us because it touches us directly. We knew them. But when, of course, you call spirits which are older or that you didn't know, it's more difficult to make this relationship as for the persons which we have known and who passed away. Okay. This lesson is more profitable the more intimate are the connections between the spirits and us, since it is easier for us to put ourselves in the place of one who is our equal than in that of another whom we only see through the mirage of celestial glory. That's it. For instance, call the spirit of Liz, please.
Oh yeah, hi everyone. Yes, I think by talking and communicating with those people we know, I think we learn because we have that emotional attachment to them, rather than when you're speaking or learning from evolved spirits, it's a more theoretical. And I think, you can have the theoretical. However, these people you have interacted with, as they say there, you've known them in the incarnation. So from that aspect, you seem to have more in common. And I think you learn when you have that emotional reason to want to know how they are, and want to know the repercussions or consequences of things as well.
You're totally right, Liz. It's exactly what he's saying here. To receive teachings, the spirit is body of knowledge, for instance, it needs to be higher elevated spirit for that purpose. But to understand these examples of life, and you are totally right, it touches us more when the spirits are closer to us. And even, you see, for instance, Kardec evoked Lacordaire or Lamennais, or some others, but he knew them personally. He was in the Institut Historique. He was member of that Historical Institute of Paris, where the other members were, for instance, Lacordaire and Lamennais. They discarnated a little bit before the beginning of the codification. So when they came with their communication, Kardec could even more easier recognize them because he knew them, the way to speak, the expressions, when they were alive. And secondly, they were close to him, showing him, okay, this is what we did. You know it because you were with us, and this is how we are now. Munir.
Hi, everyone. Charles, also in Heaven and Hell, Part Seconds, Kardec does exactly that. The spirits evoked to tell us what, the situation is in the spiritual world. They were either known by Kardec or they were known in the community. So, people returned and told them, who they were or what happened to them after, the return to the spiritual world and so on. It's very interesting because, they were basically people from the community, and also they evoked for this purpose, those they knew in the community or directly, some of them were personal friends of Kardec, and even, Kardec's doctor,
Yeah, the Dr. Demer, you mean?
Yeah.
He never met him personally.
No.
But they exchanged a lot of letters. Dr.
Okay.
Demer, they were about to meet if Kardec would have traveled to Lyon in 1863. They would have met, but Kardec did not travel to Lyon that year because of other reasons. So, but he knew him by correspondence, okay, or by other persons, but not directly. But never mind, even just the fact to correspond with someone helps you already to recognize them when they come after passing away. Liz?
Yeah, I think we definitely, as we know, need the instructions and guidance from the higher elevated spirits. But as Munir rightly said, the people in heaven and hell were all generally known to each other. And in that respect, that's another very important aspect of our learning, because the people there get to know how wrong they could have been about somebody, how morally much higher they were once they got to spiritual world than they were actually in real life. And that has to make you stop and think that you cannot assume that people you meet in the street or people that are living next to you as your neighbors are just who you assume they are. And people need to be a little bit more careful, because this way you have a mirror. You have a way of actually seeing, well, inside that person is something totally different from the aspect that we see from the outside.
Exactly. I mean, here on Earth, we can use masks,
yeah,
a kind of hiding or even
persona,
hypocrisy, in the worst case, but in the spiritual world, this is all the masks are collapsing. There is no mask anymore, and there the reality comes. Even on Earth, sometimes we see, oh, that person is very good, very kind, and over years and so, and all of a sudden something happens which, how to say, touch them where it hurts, and boom, you see this person exploding, It does not mean that this person evolved backwards. No, it was something latent, which was awaiting the opportunity to appear. And this comes, I mean, maybe at lesser degrees, it happens to all of us. Sometimes we are surprised by the reactions we have. That's why we have to work to know ourselves. Question 919 of the Spirit's book, because there are a lot of things we do not, selfishness, for instance, or pride, we do not easily admit it to ourselves. No, that's not for me, and so on. So it's like this. But then when the spirits arrive in the spiritual world, that's another aspect which even may reveal and which we may discover who the people really are.
It shows their true colors, but also they hide their true colors in real life. And the humility and humbleness of people can also hide the fact that they're actually, morally and superior or elevated. So, yeah, it is a false personality. You don't actually see people's true colors. Very few people are able to remain authentic and serene in all events.
Yes, yes. The superior spirits, they remain serene every time. I see my mother, she got Alzheimer and so on, and she really gave us, me and my sisters, a show for resignation, for kindness, love. I was really impressed, in spite of the adversities, the difficulty to become dependent. It's a very difficult period in the life. And then I see another person also in the family, which is passing through the same type of trial, but whose behavior is completely different. This other person was also during life very kind with us, but now that she got also also Alzheimer, losing capacity and becoming dependent and so on, she behaves completely different. She's very aggressive and so on. And this is again, to reveal who is who. So sometimes a person which is very kind, maybe not, you do not see all the aspects.
Yeah, when you put them, when they get scratched a little, scratch the surface, and then you find what's really underneath. Yeah.
But in the spiritual world, there is no surface anymore, So, voilà.
Can I just comment on this part?
Yes.
Maybe this is one of the things, part of our learning here as incarnated spirits, because as you mentioned, Charles, as a spirit, you see everything. There is no masks, isn't it? So then we are here as an incarnated spirit, and then we can use those masks because of our dense bodies. There is no obvious show of anything, isn't it? Maybe this is part of our learning. And you said very well about Alzheimer's, which is a condition besides many others that disable that capability of you seeing and act on social norms. So you just show exactly everything that was underneath all along, and it's just there, and we let's say we see the true side of the person, isn't it?
Exactly. And the fact that we see these type of things in people we knew is helping us to ask ourselves, how would I behave in this situation?
Yeah.
And this is helping us to make the effort in saying, here I see really the inconvenience of one behavior and the advantages of the other, And this is part of the, the moral reform, try to work on ourselves. So the good elevated spirits, they bring us a paradigm, a body of knowledge. And this intermediate spirit at our level are bringing us a lot of lessons of life, which serve us for our own progress, or working on our own evolution. Okay. So ordinary spirits show us the practical result of the great and sublime truths, which the high order spirits give us in theory. Okay? Moreover, nothing is worthless in the study of a science. Newton discovered the laws of universal forces by observing the simplest phenomena, which is the apple falling down from the tree. Okay, so it seems so banal, and with that he deduced some principles who are enabling us to do so many things, understand the astronomy, and even on our day-to-day mechanics. Voilà. So that I think this advice of Kardec is really very wise. We should observe everything. We should not say this is not worth and discard it, because most of the time the situations present themselves as per the organization of the good spirits, and they know what we need to know or what we need to see. They know how to call our attention on what is needed for really having a better understanding or a better behavior or a better organization or whatever. Okay. Alors, second. Yes, we have still 10 minutes. Evoking ordinary spirits has a further advantage in that it puts us in contact with suffering spirits, those whom we may comfort and help with good counsels in their advancement. Here we see another advantage, another utility of the evoking is this solidarity between us in the incarnated world and these spirits which are in difficulty in the spiritual world. Okay, gives us an opportunity to put love in practice, for charity. Okay. Thus, we can be useful while we learn. You see, making joining two goals here. You learn and help. To seek only our own satisfaction in our relationship with spirits would be plain selfish, and those who fail to extend a helping hand to the unfortunate only prove their own pride. Kardec is a little bit strong in the statement, isn't it? But he's right. We had not so long ago a communication from a spirit, a spiritist, a spirit which was spiritist, and he only wanted to have mediumistic meeting, to have good, nice messages or nice drawings or whatever. And his situation in the spiritual world was not so comfortable, because he really missed this opportunity to help. So we should always have this into mind, and as Guilherme says, the goal of the mediumistic meeting is mostly to help, to assist the spirits in need. Munir?
Charles, yes, that is very important. Unless it is a mediumship meeting for specific purposes, we learn from suffering spirits, because that is our condition. That suffering spirit, those suffering spirits may be perhaps one of us in the near future, and they come as a kind of a lesson for us to prepare ourselves better, and at the same time help them. So sometimes people think that we should only get messages, as you mentioned, from elevated spirits, and it's nice, okay, we may receive some guidance and so on, but what's the purpose in receiving messages after messages from enlightened spirits if we don't do anything, to change, to become better people? And I think the best way to do that through mediumship is to help those who are very similar to us. Maybe one of us, very soon. So, it's a beautiful work that can be done in using this faculty.
Exactly. But again, he's strong, to seek our own satisfaction in our relationship with spirits. We do not seek our satisfaction, we seek our learning. Christine?
I was just about to say, just based on what yourself and Munir had said, my mother had a saying, and it was, take a fool's advice. And when I was younger, I didn't know what she meant by take a fool's advice. But what she meant was, listen to what I'm saying. I've been through it. I know what it means, and learn from it.
Exactly. Now we can learn from a lot of situations, really. What good would it do to obtain fine communications from elevated spirits if doing so does not render us better, more charitable, and more benevolent towards our brothers and sisters of this and of the other world? Very nice question. Munir just told it. Why to have binders full of good messages? It's good, encourage you, work, this, that. Well, if you don't put it in practice, if you don't follow the advices. And that remembers me another little story from that comes from Chico Xavier somewhere. You had one person, he was a spiritist and had a lot of knowledge in the spiritist body of knowledge and so on. And he was giving lectures in several groups, as it's used in Brazil, where you have almost a lecture every day in the spiritist groups. And when he went to a given spiritist group, he always saw a man which was extremely attentive and listening carefully to what he was saying, And of a sudden he came and this man was not here anymore. Okay, don't understand what happened with this man. He did not ask also further for it. And sometimes later again, he passed away. And when he passed away, again, it's a little bit like André Louis, he was a little bit surprised not to be in a good situation for all what he has done and giving so many lectures here and there and so on. So after a couple of times in the spiritual world, came some spirits to rescue him. And among the spirits, he recognized that man who was there to rescue him. And then he asked, oh, how did you merit such a high position in the spiritual world? And the man answered him, very simple. I just put in practice what you were saying to us. So that's about it. And this is exactly this question of the spirit. You have good messages and leave them in a file or in a binder and don't use it and don't read it anymore or don't share it or don't make a positive use of it. It's not good. What would become of impoverished, diseased person if doctors refuse to touch their open sores? You see, I'm admiring the people in the hospital because I was several times in the hospital this last decade. And to see, even during the pandemics, the hospital did not close. You could not. Spiritist center closed, some, not all. Some, even sometimes they had to close because it was forbidden by law. They could not continue. So that's when we shifted to virtual, just exactly to continue making this work of assistance to spirits in need, because we consider it as an hospital and an hospital cannot close. Of course, if the law forbids you to receive public in a room or whatever during the pandemic, we must fulfill the law. We cannot take a risk of having a cluster or whatever of contamination, and people even can die from this. So instead of helping, we are not helping. But for the spiritual world and making mediumistic meeting, assisting the spirits in need, we could continue it virtually. But not all the people did that. Some even big federations, even in Brazil, they said, no, mediumistic meeting is either presential or not. So for me, it's equivalent is exactly what Kardec is saying here. The more you need the hospital, you are closing it. So it makes no sense. You agree with me? You have to adapt the hospital, you adapt the way you work, the way, of course, the doctor who are touching the open source, they take gloves, they put the products in, they make all what is necessary. But if they have to clean the source, they will do it. They will not refrain to do it. So this is applicable also for us. Okay, Liz?
It just kind of brought to my mind certain professions that are not very, like, don't have a very glamorous job, because many of us just see and seek more glamorous positions that can be giving us status, or, you know, a job that is not so, how can I say, don't have certain challenges. But it is so important for us to recognize certain professions, because without them, as a society, we wouldn't be able to have certain, for example, cleaner streets and,
yes,
you know, maintenance of sewage and things like that, and so on. And they are not very glamorous things, but someone have to do it for the good of all. So these is just what came to my head.
exactly. Thank you, Liz, for this contribution. Okay, so it's 12:29. We are at the end of the soup, so we will restart next week from this new subtitle. And for today, I think I will hand over. Is Raphael here? Yes, Raphael. So I will hand over to you to make the closing vibrations and the prayer.
Thank you, Charles. Hello, everyone. All right, my friends. So as usual, we'll do our vibration at this point. Give me just 1 second. There you go. So I will invite all of us now to just be together, unite our thoughts and open our hearts in this moment, and allow ourselves to be present, calm our minds, calm our hearts, elevating our thoughts, connecting with one another and connecting with the higher spheres. In this moment, we send a collective appeal to the entire planet, our brothers and sisters incarnate and discarnate, the mentors, benefactors, every single person involved in the multiple experiences that we go through in this moment. We keep in our minds everything that the planet is going through is according to the laws of God. And we remember that we were created all the same, but with a single objective, which is look for happiness. Happiness that comes from respecting the laws of God. Above all, the law of love and the law of charity. We ask our benefactors that in this moment, reach out to our brothers and sisters who do not have this understanding, that might be going through difficult challenges with conflicts, with poverty, with war, catastrophes, and the many others who are dedicating their time, their energy to extend their helping hand selflessly. We ask of you, my Lord, to envelop every single one of them in this moment, in your warmth, in your light, enough to remove any negative thought, anything that is toxic around them, anything that is keeping them from functioning in a healthy way, from their thoughts to their feelings, to their sensations, to their physical bodies. Give them a glimpse of hope. Give them an injection of energy. That will put them in the right mindset to learn from what they're going through, to find within themselves the courage to face the challenges, but above all, to look to the future with hopeful eyes, because above all of us, there is you, my Lord, giving us what we need, supporting us all the way. In the name of God, I ask permission to close this moment and ask every single one of us to multiply these blessings and spread them throughout the day and the week. So be it.
Amen.
So be it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bless you all.
Thank you.
Bless.
Bye.
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 Yeah.
Bye.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
Bye.